Eccoci, Milano Whisky Festival 2023, Palazzo delle Stelline, squadra non solo whisky al completo, Lorenzo Giovannetti.
Arnaldo Maggiora Vergano
E con noi
abbiamo Ross che è il
Lockmont Group.
Lockmont Group, che è l'European Sales Manager, insomma, del gruppo, e oggi racconteremo un Glen Scotia.
Glen Scotia.
Scotia, yeah.
Glen Scotia.
Victoriana, un'altra bomba, anche se è un NAS, no age statement whisky, but tell us something about this whiskey.
Yeah, so basically the reason behind the name Victoriana, Glen Scotia is is one of 3 remaining distilleries in Campbeltown. Okay, the reason for Victoriana is an homage, let's say, to the Victorian era of whiskey making, where Campbeltown, where Glen Scotia is from, was very much the capital.
Allora, è una delle 3 distillerie rimanenti in Campbeltown. Per avere la regione devi avere minimo 3 distillerie, se no te la tolgono. E il nome è in onore alla regina Vittoria, all'epoca vittoriana.
Exactly. So basically, back in the Victorian era, even though Campbeltown only had a population of a few thousand people, there used to be at one time over 30 distilleries in Campbeltown, right?
Yes.
Nowadays we only have 3. The reason why we had so many distilleries is, at the time there was an abundance of barley. There were thriving coal mines. Campbeltown even had its own source of water dedicated to whiskey.
Allora, prima ce n'erano anche una trentina. Tendenzialmente erano tutte illegali. There were 30 but illegal, no?
No, there were 30 legal and
legal.
It's
Okay.
undefined how many illicit distilleries there were.
Yeah.
But to put it into context for today's output versus the Victorian era, at one stage, in the late 19th century, Campbeltown exported 9 million litres of whiskey. Nowadays, between ourselves, between Springbank and between Glengyle, we only have a combined output of about 1 million litres. So between the 3. So that shows you how much bigger it used
Ok,
to be.
quindi in quel periodo c'erano 30 distillerie legali, soprattutto perché c'era molto orzo e fonti d'acqua importanti, e quindi le distillerie nascevano come funghi. Poi c'è stata una crisi e quindi in realtà sono rimaste, oggi ne abbiamo 3, Springbank, Glengyle.
Yep.
That is not this the pronunciation?
Glengyle, we would say.
Glengyle e
Glen Scott.
Glen Scott. Yeah.
Exactly.
Poi in realtà ci sono vari brand come
legati alle 3 distillerie.
Springbank,
Certo.
have more than one brand.
Exactly. So they also have Hazelburn and Long Row, but
Long Row,
Long
yes.
Row.
Sì.
Hazelburn,
Hazelburn and Long Row,
C'è
yeah.
anche Kilkerran,
Kilkerran is the
Glengyle.
yeah, exactly. So Kilkerran is the name of the single malt that's made at Glengyle Distillery.
Yeah.
But the main reason actually for Campbeltown thriving so much in the 19th century was actually the location. So many people think it's on an island, but it's not. It's on a peninsula.
Peninsula.
So basically back in the 19th century, it was very efficient and easy to export whiskey by steamboat, or even to travel up to Glasgow, where most of the whiskey was blended by the big businessmen and women of the day. So yeah, it was just a perfect location for making whiskey. If you look over the years of why there's been such a decline in Campbeltown.
Allora, lui dice che in realtà Campbeltown sarebbe un posto ideale per il whisky, perché non è un'isola, facilmente il traghetto arriva a Glasgow, ha tutte delle caratteristiche per la quale in realtà ancora oggi avrebbe senso trovare più di sole 3 distillerie.
Ma a noi ci piace così, va bene così.
But very good, 3 distilleries, but all very good.
Yeah, no, exactly. I know.
But the crisis
Non ne fate più, bene così.
I guess you could say that Glen Scotia is one of the resilient ones, but yeah, I mean, there's so many reasons why, there's been a decline in Campbeltown, right? So a lot of people, there's a lot of generic reasons like world wars and financial crisis, and of course, distillery consolidation. Let's say, whereby we just had too many distilleries, and some of them had to close, but
too much competition.
Exactly, but I think the 2 main reasons from research I've done and from learnings I have from Ian McAllister, the master distiller, the 2 main reasons are really down to the location. So the location became, whilst in the 19th century it was an advantage, the location is now quite complicated because it's quite a difficult place to get to now that roads and rails developed. But I think the principal reason from research that I've done has been really the whiskey profile of Campbeltown. So if you imagine, in the early 20th century, only up until very recently actually, not many people were drinking single malt. We didn't have whiskey festivals in Milan to celebrate Scotch whiskey, right? So nobody was really drinking single malt. People were drinking whiskey in blends, and really the profile of Campbeltown whiskey has always been very strong, very muscular. So the blenders in Glasgow and Edinburgh started to once transport became easy, they started to prefer the profile of lighter, more floral whiskies like Speyside, exactly, or even Loch Lomond from the Highlands. So it's they were easier whiskies to drink, which meant the demand for Campbeltown whiskey really dropped.
Quindi dice che ci sono in realtà ha studiato un pochino e ha parlato anche con il master distiller di questa crisi delle distillerie, del numero di distillerie, e le ragioni probabilmente sono due. Una che in realtà non era più per colpa delle strade, dei treni, delle railways accessibile come un tempo, c'erano distillerie più accessibili. E la seconda è il profilo del whisky che viene fatto e creato in Campbeltown, che quasi tutti i whisky tendono a essere molto lui ha detto muscolari, insomma, molto forti, molto, tra parentesi, aggressive, whisky, very male whisky. Poi noi non abbiamo mai detto che esistono whisky femminili,
no,
mai.
Non ci permetteremo mai di dirlo più.
E quindi che succedeva? Che siccome il mercato non è dei single malt, come voi sapete, ma è ancora oggi dei blended, perché comunque il mercato the market is 90% blended and 10% single malt at this moment.
Yeah, even so, I mean, I think blended Scotch is quite flat and maybe even starting to decline, but we're seeing real growth in single malt still.
Well, we made the review of the blended malt, the Campbeltown blended malt, il Lock.
Yep.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing, but it was a blended malt.
Exactly.
Not a blended.
Between ourselves and Springbank.
Glen Scotia, Springbank e Glen. E quindi questo ha portato alla riduzione da 30 distillerie, addirittura si arrivò a 2, e Springbank, per non perdere la denominazione Campbeltown, rimise Glengyle come terza distilleria, because after less than 3 distilleries you lose the region.
Exactly.
by disciplinare, che non mi ricordo mai in inglese come si dice. By law.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're quite correct. The Scotch Whisky Association said to us that if Glen Scotia and Springbank were the only functional distilleries in Campbeltown, we would lose that Campbeltown regionality, which would have been a big blow. So Springbank over time have refurbished the Glengyle distillery, and then that's why you see, in limited quantity, but you see Kilkerran quite active in the market today as well.
Nice. I like Kilkerran.
Yeah, a good one.
I like everyone from Campbeltown.
and that's it. And
I have a Gordon MacPhail Glen Scotia of many years ago. I still have the bottle empty because it was so delicious. Yeah. I say, okay, I have to remember this whiskey. And I still have the bottle.
I think, honestly, it's very difficult to get a bad whiskey from Campbeltown. I mean, if you look at, taking into account Victoriana, I've said at the start, it's really a whiskey dedicated to that Victorian period. So Campbeltown whiskies are always, there's this saying in Campbeltown that we say Campbeltown funk, and it's one of these things that, when you taste a whiskey from Campbeltown, there's something that you can't quite put your finger on, but it really it just exists, and that's what we call the Campbeltown funk. Exactly.
Quindi lui dice che praticamente definiscono questo whisky quasi funky, perché comunque i whisky di Campbeltown hanno queste note importanti che lui appunto ha definito funky, ho detto quasi esplosivo, insomma. Let's go to the testing notes.
Exactly right. Let's go through. So what I'll do, I'll tell you exactly what the whiskey is first of all, and then that should hopefully help guide you through the tasting. So Victoriana is a non-age statement, right?
Yes.
But what we do is we batch 3 whiskies together. Okay. So first of all, you've got a 10-year-old unpeated first fill bourbon matured. Glen
Ok,
Scotia.
allora è la fusione di 3 botti, free kind of whisky o free casks?
Well, three kinds
Free
of
kind of
whiskey.
whisky. Allora, il primo è un 10 anni non torbato
Yeah,
and
in first fill bourbon.
first fill bourbon, quindi ha fatto 10 anni in first fill bourbon, quindi hanno preso la botte usata bourbon e ci hanno messo dentro per la prima volta il whisky.
Yeah. And then you've got a 12-year-old lightly peated
Okay.
in first fill bourbon.
Poi il secondo tipo di whisky è un 12 anni, leggermente torbato, sempre first fill bourbon.
Yeah. And then we've got a 17-year-old unpeated refill bourbon.
E poi un 17 anni non torbato, 17 anni di second fill,
Yeah.
quindi una botte che era già stata usata e che quindi dona di meno e ti puoi permettere di fare degli invecchiamenti più lunghi.
And then what we do is we blend these 3 whiskies together.
But it's a part.
Yeah,
Similar.
yeah. More. I don't know the exact recipe.
Okay,
To be honest, that's Michael Henry's secret. But we blend the 3 of these whiskies together, and then 70% of this batch is put into the alligator char,
Ah,
heavy charred
yeah,
bourbon cask.
for level
Yeah,
4.
yeah, I could say that.
For how many time?
For 12 months. And then 30% is also at the same time put into first fill Pedro Jimenez sherry casks.
Okay.
So they mature separately
So-
for 12 months.
They marriage and then they separate.
Yes, exactly.
And then remarriage.
And then they remarry for 3 months. Exactly.
Allora, praticamente divorziano, nel senso che all'inizio prendono il 70% delle botti che hanno unito tutte insieme, quindi hanno fatto un primo marriage che va in... Sorry, the 70% goes...
To the
un alligator cask, che sono le botti che sono così state bruciate livello 4 si dice, e il nome non tecnico è alligator perché sono così charred, così bruciate all'interno che il carbone che si viene a creare all'interno della botte ricorda la pelle di un alligatore, mentre il 30% fa per 1 year of Pedro Jimenez.
Exactly. And that's so that that gives it that nice dried fruit character. So
Quindi il 30% invece del rimanente 70% fa un anno di botti ex Pedro Jimenez. Il Pedro Jimenez, come voi sicuramente sapete, è uno dei whisky più dolci e più densi. Vini fortificati spagnoli più dolci e più densi.
Beh,
Andiamo
fa un
a...
bel giro fa questo.
sì, fa 2 matrimoni, quindi fa un primo matrimonio
Diciamo
e poi
che-
un altro matrimonio.
Che fa insomma, tante cose.
the first thing you'll notice is the oil residual on the glass.
E
Yeah.
dice,
So-
questo è cast strength, unchill filtered and colored.
exactly. So cast strength, unchill filtered, and
Non-colored.
uncolored, 54.2%. You notice very
54.
yeah.
34.
54.2%.
No,
ABV.
34. Non li sento, dice
You-
54
you-
gradi,
you-
ma io non li
You'll
sento.
get a surprise if you think
No,
it's
no,
34.
alcol, ragazzi. Cioè, io posso fare così, ragazzi.
Yeah. So you notice
No
lots,
alcol, no alcol.
no alcohol, exactly.
Wow.
Poi c'è una nota
So
di
really big,
frutta-
bold nose, right?
No, really dangerous.
A little bit.
I hope I will feel something in mouth, because if you don't, you will drink this like water.
Bellissima
Well,
nota
well-
di frutta.
Well, that's it.
Bello,
I mean,
bello.
it's the fruit. You notice
Fruit,
at Glen Scotia,
a
we
little
do
bit, a little bit,
a little
still,
bit of peat. Exactly.
Come dire?
Frutta cotta, bruciacchiata.
Sì, mela cotta, pera cotta.
Mela cotta.
Ma c'è anche la pasticceria,
Bello,
no?
bello.
Ah, la pasticceria Biscuits.
Yes.
Cheers, guys.
Allora, in bocca io direi 48 gradi. 48, I feel like a 48.
Well, that's it. I feel like, from my own experience, right? I feel that the rich texture in the whiskey, it's
Oily.
kind of that's for me. That's protecting my palate. You know, it's not burning too much,
No, no.
despite the high grade.
Yeah.
And that for me is, you know, the essence of good whiskey when
Beh, ma
everything
Bello.
shines through. It's
allora lui dice che giustamente sì, l'alcol un po' arriva, ma quasi sembra che ti protegge la bocca, nel senso che è quasi una cosa confortante
yeah.
e che poi ti pervade tutto. Ragazzi, in bocca è veramente esplosivo.
Sì, sì,
Se io vi dovessi dire cosa c'è mentre al naso ci potevo riuscire, in bocca ho così tante sensazioni diverse.
Sento le spezie, sento il...
Sì, ci sono le spezie, ma c'è frutta, c'è frutta
esotica.
matura,
Sì.
c'è frutta esotica, c'è frutta cotta, c'è...
A lot
Dite
of
un
that-
frutto?
A lot of that
Mi
fruit's
piace-
coming
Yeah.
through from we do a really long fermentation, right? So
Ah.
that first of all gives you that kind of funky, fruity character. I don't know if you guys noticed as well, but there's a lot of kind of salty nature. There's
Also salty,
That's
yes.
something that's just
Sì.
so typical with
Yeah,
Campbeltown. It's
Yeah.
it's unquestionably
Allora,
Sento
lui...
anche biscotto salato.
Biscotto salato,
Biscuit,
cookie,
cookie.
Solo
yeah,
cookie.
exactly. That's maybe coming from a lot of the,
Allora-
the vanilla and the bourbon cask as well. You know?
Perhaps. Loro fanno una lunga fermentazione e anche per questo motivo dice che risulta il whisky salato, e diceva lui giustamente che c'è anche questa nota di biscotto, quasi burro salato, ti potrei dire. Butter, salty
Yeah.
butter, because it's so oily that
Well, that's it. And I believe a lot of the oily character comes from quite a slow distillation. It's almost like if you imagine Nonna making a sugo, okay? And she does it in a rush. It's not going to taste as good as if she's left it, all afternoon, slowly cooking away. And that for me is so clear that the oily texture is just like Nonna's sugo.
In bocca la nota leggermente fumosa, più che al naso.
Sì.
In bocca,
sì,
nella
more
fase della
peaty.
persistenza,
Smoky.
Yeah, and it kind of lingers. It's not too aggressive, but it's
No, aggressive.
avrei difficoltà a livello olfattivo di notarla questa nota fumosa, mentre in bocca esce
più
fuori,
importante.
è più...
No, poi quando lo riannusi che l'hai bevuto, allora esce un po' di più ed esce una torba molto elegante, molto tranquilla di accompagno.
Però mi entusiasma questa nota di biscotto salato, di burro, di pasticceria.
Sì,
no?
ma
Di
ragazzi, è tanta roba, è
cheesecake
veramente tanta roba.
alla frutta. Cioè,
Sappiamo più o meno il prezzo della bottiglia, io guardo fuori camera. Qua. No, prezzo al pubblico. 90, ok.
I merita tutti,
bel prodotto.
bel prodotto.
lots
Bel
of
prodotto.
complexity. Just the perfect representation of
Nice texture.
history in a glass. Let's say.
Sì. This is a meditation whiskey, no?
Yeah.
You talk
Exactly.
with your friend and you sip, you have
Yeah.
to sip.
It's not aperitivo, is it?
No, aperitivo, no.
No, it's
No,
this
questo è
is
after
this is for
dinner.
Tony.
Yeah, after dinner with a couple of
Con i
friends.
formaggi.
Exactly.
This is
with
very
cheese.
good with cheese,
With cheese.
probably, yes.
Yeah,
Camembert.
especially that the Pedro Jimenez kind of spiciness that
Yeah.
comes in. Yeah, I've never tried it with cheese. I have to be honest, but it would be great. Or often with a cigar, maybe. I'm not a cigar
He's
smoker,
calling
but-
my cigar. He's calling my cigar. Ehi, Arnaldo, il sigaro.
No, veramente buono, un bel prodotto. No, vabbè, è
Ross.
arrivato con
Thank you very
con
much.
grande...
thank you.
Ce l'avevano detto ora che è una bomba, eh? Cioè,
Sì,
eravamo
sì.
stati avvertiti.
Sì, avevamo detto, io ho detto, ma me la porti una bomba? E mi è stato detto, ti porto
Una
una bomba. E ragazzi, è stato di parola. Grazie a Compagnia dei Caraibi. Ross,
Ciao,
thank
guys.
you very much.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Bevete poco, bevete bene, bevete insieme. Alla prossima.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Gunslinger, deathbringer in your black veil.